Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Surviving the Week, where each week I tell you about all the things that made me want to hit the fuck it button and the things that helped me survive it. And this week we are down with the sickness. The entire family has been hit by this horrific cold that is going around. And obviously, with my luck, I seem to have it the worst and can't seem to shake it at all. Every day, I think I'm going to feel better tomorrow. And then I wake up in the morning and I feel like shit. It started on Sunday when my toddler woke up at 5 a.m. with a fever and spent the entire day just resting and was very clearly not herself at all. She napped a lot and her fever was up and down, using Calpol to manage it. She wasn't really interested in things that she would normally want to do. And of course, the next day, it hit me. 2 days later, my 6-year-old and my teenager. And so we have all been struggling this week with feeling pretty awful. Everyone else seems to be getting better though, and I am not. The really stupid thing is that I don't even know how she got sick, because she doesn't go anywhere. She doesn't socialize. She's not at playgroup yet. So how did she get the germs? Who brought the germs home and made her sick in order for all the rest of us to get sick? And how dare they? Thankfully, my teenager was only ill for 1 day. She got sent home from school, spent the day in bed, and seems to be completely better. My 6-year-old has had 3 days off school trying to recover, and my toddler was up and down for about 4 days, but seems to be fine now. For me, it's been 6 days and no sign of recovery. I know I could take medicine, but I don't do that unless things are really, really bad. I should probably consider it, but I'm probably not going to. My toddler has started pretending that she's having a nap every time that she doesn't want to do something. For example, let's tidy up. She will lie on the floor and pretend to snore. She's now doing it several times a day whenever she's told off for something, like if she hits her sister, anything where she does not want to communicate. She is just lying down right where she stands and pretending to be asleep. And I'm not going to lie, the fake snoring is adorable, and it's very, very hard to take anything seriously because it is just so cute, her lying on the floor pretending to be asleep. My 6-year-old commented on the fact that my husband's long, thick, luscious hair is very similar to her big sister, and therefore that must be where her big sister gets her lovely hair from. I'm not entirely sure how to explain to her that that is not how it works. She has some understanding of the fact that her older sister has another father, and some understanding of the fact that she was 6 when she met Daddy. But I feel like there's some key information missing, and half of me is like, well, maybe she needs an explanation. Half of me just doesn't want to give her one because I don't want anyone to be othered. And part of me feels like she's still too young, and there's already been so much confusion and bullshit for her to try and wrap her head around that I don't want to add to it by bringing attention to anything. But I also found it very entertaining and very sweet that she said that they have this similarity. And like one of my friends commented as well that, you know, you could easily believe that they are father and daughter because there is some similarity there, especially with the long, thick, dark hair that they both have that none of the rest of us do. I want to talk about my eldest biological father. Now, I've touched on this subject a few times and referenced him in videos, but I've never talked about him in any detail And I think it's time to do that and give you guys some backstory. I met him when I was 17 and he was 21. I told my daughter this a few months ago and her response was, "Oh, pedo." I was horrified and could only respond with awkward laughter. Weirdly, I felt the need to defend him. Like, no, it's not, it's legal. And she said it's still gross and pedo-ish because he was a grown man and technically I was still a child. I mean, I think the next generation are going to be okay, you guys. Anyway, I'm now 34, and that means this year I will have known that man for half of my life. Half of my life being told that I'm a fucking cunt and a fat bitch and a million other things by a man who believes punching the wall next to his girlfriend's face makes him a good person because he doesn't hit women. A man who used to go out to look for could find to beat up because he couldn't hit women and then settled down and had a child with a woman of colour. I wonder what he'll do when his new child comes home from school crying because someone called them that word. How will he respond, do you think? We've not had to see him in person for 8 years. Glorious 8 years it's been. But he has contact with my daughter occasionally through Facebook. And I have to monitor it because he has a habit of saying things that he shouldn't. And every time I pull him up on something, he uses it as an opportunity to speak to me like a piece of shit and tell me what a horrific mother I am and horrific person and how one day she's going to know how awful I am. And honestly, anything he could say about me, I don't care about. I don't care because there are a million other things that I'm more worried about her knowing and being upset by than anything that he could come out with about what I did or didn't do at 17. Half my life. He's one of those men who has her name and birthday tattooed on his arm and yet hasn't bothered with her for 8 years. And of course, that's my fault. It's all my fault. Everything is always my fault. I've poisoned her. I've kept her from him, despite the fact that I have 8 years of evidence that that's not true. Because every time he's contacted me, I've said, you can see her, we just need to go to the contact centre, which we previously used for a year. And they said, if communication breaks down again, come back. So when communication broke down again, when he was screaming at me, and I said, I can't do this anymore. And I said, we've got to go back to the contact centre because he was upsetting my child and then calling her a liar and saying I was making shit up because she was upset and he didn't believe me or didn't care or cared too much about his own fucking pride. So I said, we go back to the contact centre. And he said no. He refused. And every time we've spoken since, I've said, just go to the contact centre. And he's refused and said he doesn't have enough money, but he has enough money to have a whole other fucking child. And he hasn't paid anything towards my child since she was 3. He paid regularly up until that point. I never asked him for anything. I have never wanted anything from him. Let me be clear. I don't want a fucking penny from that scumbag of a man. But it bothers me that he likes to pretend that I'm some sort of villain while simultaneously refusing to pay to use a contact centre when he's not contributing to her life whatsoever. I mean, really? It's just pathetic. Pathetic excuse for a man. He still hasn't grown up at all. He's never changed. And the worst part about it, the thing that I hate the most is that when I do have to speak to him, and when he speaks to me like that, I turn back into a scared 17-year-old. And I hate it. I hate that he still has that power. I hate that he still has an impact on me. But the important thing is that he's older than me. And with all the drugs and alcohol that he abuses, he will probably die before me. And then one day I get to dance on his grave. And that's the thought that I hold on to. My string of bad luck and being accident prone continues endlessly. This week, the coffee jar got caught on my sleeve on my jumper dress and dragged onto the floor and smashed, which was very upsetting because it is an Easter Bunny coffee jar. And now I have an Easter Bunny sugar jar and a Halloween coffee jar. I at least want them to be the same theme, even though it's not Easter yet. I dropped a plate whilst I was doing the washing up, and I was so relieved to pick it up and find that I hadn't broken it, only to realise that there was a glass in the sink that did in fact break by me dropping the plate. I said I wanted to clean the microwave this week. I wanted to deep clean it, which I do with a bowl of boiling water and white vinegar. It's a great tip for cleaning the microwave. You put it in for 5 minutes, let it sit for 15 to loosen all the grime with the steam, and then everything just wipes away. It's really, really good. However, the universe decided to make sure that I did this by making me knock over my daughter's bedtime milk all over the microwave, so that I had no choice but to follow through with cleaning it. Let's do a little mental health check-in. How am I doing? Mainly tired. Honestly, I've been too sick this week to really think outside of my physical health. So I'm not sure how I'm feeling. I think I'm doing okay. I'm pretty overwhelmed, obviously very run down. The house is a mess. I have a lot to do that I don't have the physical strength or energy for, which is extremely frustrating. But I think I'm doing okay. Nothing terrible has happened. There's not been anything triggering. I'm doing all right this week. I'm actually feeling pretty happy. Yeah, I think I'm happy. Weird. What an odd realization to have. I'm quite happy. Huh. That's nice. Oh no. Whenever I have a realization that I feel happy, something really bad happens. So let's hope the universe doesn't decide to teach me any lessons this coming week. I have been struggling for ages with phone storage, and I realised Instagram was using 22 gig of storage on my phone, and I couldn't work out why until I realised that my saved videos were actually taking up storage space. So where I had saved recipes, ideas, things that I wanted to buy, anything that I just liked and wanted to be able to look at again, all taking up 22 gig worth of storage. And when I cleared it and got rid of all the saved videos, Instagram now only takes up 5 gig. That's insane. My phone is suddenly functioning so much better. So if you're struggling with storage on your phone, that is what you need to do. Have you seen that you can now train your algorithm? There is an option when you're looking on the Reels tab, where it's got little slidey hearts, that you can click to see what it thinks your algorithm is, and then add in topics that you want to see more of and take away topics that you don't want to see as much. The thing is, what it says is in my algorithm doesn't seem to be what actually is in my algorithm. So I'm not entirely convinced that making any changes there is going to do anything. It's also, it says that it's been assessed by AI and these are the subjects, they are things that I'm looking at. If you are not happy with your algorithm and want to retrain it, give it a go, see if it works. I haven't edited mine, but I know a lot of people want to. So if that helps you and it does work, let me know. I recently spoke about the toxic social media trend of saying that the best way to get over whatever you're struggling with is to stop talking about it. And this week I called out a creator who said this and said that this is called toxic positivity, to which she responded saying that she still thinks that you should talk about things you're struggling with when you're struggling with them, but you just shouldn't put too much energy into it, completely contradicting herself. To which I said, okay, so this is rage bait that you don't even believe in, because this woman's in therapy. She's talking about what she's struggling with. So how can she be telling other people not to? All you're doing by saying that is shaming people who might already be struggling to speak about whatever is impacting them. Shaming them, telling them that they shouldn't be doing it. And it all seems to be fucking mum influencers that are doing it. We know as mothers, staying quiet about our struggles has a seriously negative impact on us, our families, our children, and we should all be encouraging each other to open up and talk more so that we don't feel isolated. We should all be able to share our experiences. And by doing so, by sharing your story, by sharing what you're struggling with, you open up an opportunity for community, to feel a sense of togetherness, and to understand that whatever you're going through, you're not the only one. There's going to be someone else in the world that understands, that empathizes, and that can help you through it. If you never talk about it, you're never going to find that help and support that you might need. I've also seen this trend of people announcing that they are choosing to stay quiet about the current political situation intentionally, which, if you ask me, is way worse than just staying quiet. Because by announcing that you're choosing to stay quiet, what you're doing is you're telling people how very privileged you are and that you are aware of that privilege and happy to utilize it where others cannot. One particular influencer this week posted such a video and got absolutely destroyed in the comment section, to the point where she posted an apology and then deleted it altogether and just posted a different video saying that she's going to try and educate herself more. Her page is about supporting children and parents with low level autism. She refers to it as level 1 autism. My child doesn't have a level, but I would consider her low support needs in comparison to a lot of other autistic people. That doesn't mean that she's not disabled. It doesn't mean that she doesn't have needs, but she is verbal, she can communicate, and she's very lucky not to have more extreme struggles. And I am aware of the fact that I am lucky that she doesn't have higher support needs. However, a lot of people in the comments were pointing out to this creator what's happening right now politically with the fucking fascism taking over the world is very important to the autistic community, because guess what? Autistic people, autistic children especially, find it difficult to understand what is happening. They might not know how to protect themselves, how to act. For example, my teenager has a police alert card, so that if she is ever stopped by police, she can make sure they're aware that she's autistic, that she might not behave or speak in the way that they would expect. And she has that to protect her, because autistic kids need that protection. Because the police, even here in the UK, where they're not anywhere near as bad as they are in America, I know that the police are shit in a lot of ways. Trust me, don't I fucking know it? But they're not as bad, right? We don't have the same issues with gun violence and stuff from the police here, obviously. We've seen, right? We've seen the autistic woman in Minnesota who couldn't understand why she wasn't allowed to go to her doctor's appointment being physically assaulted by ICE agents. And she couldn't understand what was happening. She couldn't process it fast enough because she doesn't have that ability. I've seen a story shared by Laura Clary about the fact that there was a non-verbal autistic child detained and that his mother was absolutely terrified because he can't communicate. He can't tell you if something is happening to him. How is he meant to advocate for himself whilst being isolated as a detainee? These are important matters to autistic people, autistic parents, and to say that you want to stay in your lane, guess what? This is your fucking lane. Everything that is happening is everyone's lane. And to say otherwise, to choose silence, that is just saying that you support what is happening. If you do not support it, you need to say so. The more people that shout at the top of their lungs, the more hope we have of getting the world back on track. I got quite excited when I saw that something had been posted by Taylor Swift and Taylor Nation this week. I thought, oh my God, she's finally saying something. And what she said was, there's a new vinyl variant. And unsurprisingly, the comment section was flooded with people saying, why the fuck are you being quiet? Where's the Miss Americana energy? What happened? Like, I'm a Swiftie. And I love Taylor Swift. I love Taylor Swift's music. I have loved what she's stood for in the past. And now I'm wondering where the fuck she's hiding. Because what happened to not letting people keep you quiet anymore? And I'm sure all my friends who hate Taylor Swift will be very pleased to hear me say this. But I am at a point where I don't even want to listen to the music that I love because I'm so disappointed with her silence, the totally deafening silence. I think it's great that several countries have opened investigations following the release of more of the Epstein files. It's still not enough. It's not good enough. And it was amazing seeing the MAGA mum on the Necessary Conversation podcast admit that she doesn't understand why Trump isn't opening investigations and that it's wrong and concerning. There might actually be hope for her. If you don't watch it, you should definitely go check it out. It's a really good way to get information from both sides of the fence about what's happening in the US. And it's just generally like really interesting to watch. I think especially for people who are in no contact with their parents, it's relatable, definitely. I still haven't read very much of the new information that's come out about the Epstein files because it is so disgusting and triggering and traumatic and horrific, and I no, I just can't. And so I appreciate those creators who have read it and who are keeping people informed. No, hell no. The stuff about Trump is, yeah, it's really, really bad. It's really bad. I did see an interview with Bill Gates' wife that I thought was pretty amazing because although, you know, one of the things that has come out in the files is what her husband did to her or planned to do to her in order to protect his own secrets. And she used the opportunity and the platform to say that she is overwhelmed with sadness, but she kept bringing the conversation and the point back to the victims, and that is the most important part, is that we need to be thinking about the victims and what they've been through, what they continue to go through, and how they can be supported and protected, because clearly the fucking FBI is not doing it, is it? The governments of the world aren't protecting them. No one's protecting them. And God knows how many more little girls there are. This week, I have my first follower story to share with you. I recently got engaged to someone I've been dating for just over a year, but we can't make it public because they're still legally married and going through a difficult divorce. We're planning the wedding for later this year as soon as the divorce is finalised, but it'll probably be a while before we can live together after getting married. We're currently doing long distance and it will be difficult to start with as there's a lot of factors to consider. They have several children from multiple previous relationships, and I own my own home, so it will be difficult to find the right place to live together with space for everyone. We haven't really talked about finances yet, so I'm not sure how that's going to work either, but I'm more financially stable than they are. There has already been some infidelity, but I love them and want to be with them. Some of my friends are concerned that I'm rushing into things and not thinking clearly because I don't want to be alone. But they do make me really happy and they have health issues, so I don't want to wait. What do you think? There's quite a lot to unpack here. So let's go step by step. So firstly, they're still legally married. I personally wouldn't want to get engaged to anyone who is still legally married. I think that's kind of insane, and that you should definitely wait until someone's divorce is finalised before even thinking about that. That definitely seems like a rush, and I can understand why this person's friends would be concerned about that. Also, planning a wedding before the person is divorced, surely there could be multiple hurdles that mean it takes longer. So how could you possibly be planning a wedding already? Wouldn't it make more sense to just wait a year or two, or just don't maybe do that? Look, I'm not the best person to give relationship advice, obviously, but I do think that this sounds like a bad idea. And then for you not to be able to live together, that's a pretty big thing. I am a firm believer that you should live with someone before getting married. You should live with someone before getting engaged. Got engaged quite quickly, which I don't regret. I think it felt right at the time. But in this situation, and if I were to give advice, to my daughters, I would be recommending that they live with someone before taking any other steps. Live with someone for at least a year. Within a year, you're going to know the person pretty well enough to know whether or not that's what you want for the rest of your life. If you've never lived with someone, how can you be certain that you want to marry them and spend the rest of your life with them? That doesn't seem like healthy decision making to me. Taking on someone else's children is a very, very big step, and you need to be sure that you have the ability to do that. Being a step parent is not an easy thing. It is very difficult. There's a lot of emotions and factors to consider from the child's perspective as well as from your own perspective. And that's a really big, important undertaking. Financially, I would say if you haven't discussed finances, you should not be getting married. Now, obviously, it's possible for people to be dishonest about finances, and that's something you have to be wary of. But not to have the conversation at all and then tie yourself to somebody legally, that is dangerous. You need to know what you're walking into. You need to know what the situation is, what the debts are, what the bills are, how much money they actually have month to month, and how you're going to navigate that together. And if you're the one that has more financial stability, you're the one putting yourself more at risk, and they're kind of hitting the jackpot. And that is worrying. If there has been infidelity before you've even got married or before you've even got engaged, don't do it. If you're marrying someone, it should be because you both feel like they are the only person in the world that you want to be with. You don't know what might happen in the future, but infidelity before even getting to that stage of seriousness, that's, in my opinion, not a relationship worth fighting for, based on my experience, which if you have seen the What I've Done video, you will understand my perspective. And if you haven't, then I suppose I'll give you a little rundown. I am someone who has struggled with infidelity in every relationship I've ever had. It is a trauma response for me. That's not an excuse. Doesn't make it okay. It's just an explanation. If someone cheats, there is already a problem in the relationship. And if you are not already married and you don't have ties to them, then you should rethink that relationship at the very least. I think it's reasonable for this person's friends to be concerned about them. It does sound like a rush. It does sound like it may be a rash decision. Like maybe this person's not thinking clearly because they're blinded by their own emotions. You know, they love this other person, but it doesn't sound like a relationship with stable footing and foundations to build upon. At the very least, I'd say take some time to reevaluate and put things on pause. But I want to know what everyone else thinks. So please leave your support and advice for this follower in the comments and let them know what you think they should do. Obviously, my perspective is skewed by my own experiences. It's good to get other opinions, other perspectives, and other experiences to help you make an informed decision. I've decided that I want to start doing a weekly tarot spread to help get a view of what the week ahead is going to bring me. And I'm going to share it with you. What is the week ahead going to bring? How will the week be looking? What is going to impact me? What is going to be positive? What might I miss if I'm not paying attention? How will the week unfold? We are going to do a 7-card spread. The current energy that I'm going into the week with, it's the King of Pentacles, reversed. Greed, indulgence, material loss, stubborn, obsessed with wealth and status, financially inept. I thought I was doing quite well with finances recently. My husband asked me earlier if the cards have told me I'm going to come into money yet. I think that's pretty good confirmation that no. I feel like I'm being drawn to the material loss part of this card. Maybe it's because I keep on breaking things. Next, we have the upcoming challenge. which is the Page of Wands, reversed again. Lack of direction, procrastination, creating conflict, self-limiting beliefs, spiritual path, newly formed idea. Lack of direction and procrastination is definitely the core part of what I'm struggling with at the moment. It's definitely a core part of what I struggle with all the time. It's an ongoing challenge. I guess this week is going to be even worse. Hidden opportunity for the week. What I might miss if I'm not paying attention. The Five of Swords, reversed again. Past resentment, desire to reconcile, making amends, desire to forgive. So the hidden opportunity this week is forgiveness and making amends. I wonder who with. I guess I'll have to keep an eye out for that. Next is the guiding wisdom of the week. It's the Queen of Wands. Self-respect, self-confident, introverted selfishness, jealousy and insecurity. So the guiding wisdom of the week is to focus on self-respect and self-confidence. Area of focus is the Seven of Pentacles. Upright! That never happens. Long-term view, hard work, perseverance, diligence, sustainable results and investment. My area of focus this week needs to be long-term perseverance. Looking at the long game. The emotional undercurrent for the week. The emotions that might be guiding me. The Six of Swords, upright again. Transition, change, leaving behind, releasing baggage and moving on. So the emotional undercurrent of the week is change and letting go. And then we have the outcome of the week. The Ten of Wands, reversed. Doing it all, carrying the burden, delegation, release, overstressed, and burnout. Excellent. The outcome this week is more burnout, because there's not enough of that, ever. There's never enough of that in my life. It's going to be great. It's going to be a good week, guys. Come back next week to find out if the cards were correct. Why do I never get a positive reading? Oof.